I'm joined by Dan Ives. He's Managing Director of Equity Research at Wedbush Securities. He just upped his price target for the stock after these results. I mean, this stock has been parabolic. We know that they don't report the iPhone numbers purely anymore, and they want to focus on services. But that iPhone revenue, very impressive for the quarter.
It was eye-popping, just in terms of the quarter. I mean, look, in terms of iPhone, really rock of Gibraltar in terms of strength on iPhone 11. China showing growth and ultimately coming in well above expectations. I think right now the drum roll to a 5G super cycle, that's just the second act. Right now, iPhone 11 continues to be robust, services strong. We think a re-rating is going to continue to happen here. Even the bulls, bullish of bulls, thinking maybe $1.5 billion beat. This was much more than expectation. That's right, major feather in the cap for Cook and Cupertino.
When you look at the category that they call wearables, home, and accessories, sort of this catch-all category, bigger than the Mac revenue segment for the first time ever. Is that significant?
It's significant because if you look at AirPods, I mean, they've hit a home run. I mean, I think 65 million units in 2019, what they sold. Right now, we're projecting 85 to 90 million for AirPods. It just shows, many of the skeptics, innovation stopped at Apple. Yet look what's happened on AirPods right now. It's going to be 5% of revenue. And then you go back a year ago to where Apple was, back against the wall, missed numbers, China fell off a cliff. Look where they are today. I think it's one of the most historic comebacks for any company I've seen in 20 years.
Let's talk about China. Pretty good quarter for China, even though there's some uncertainty going forward, which really weighed on that revenue forecast, which is pretty wide.
Yeah, China's fueling the engine right now. I mean, if you look, 60 to 70 million iPhones are in window of an upgrade opportunity. They're going to convert about half of those. China guidance was strong as well as year-over-year growth. I think if you look at coronavirus and just we'll see maybe a higher, sort of wider range in terms of guidance, but still much better than expectations. Right now, despite the noise, China's the fuel in the engine. And I think it's a big part of our bull thesis in terms of China. The numbers validated that. That's why right now the bulls continue to, I think, be aggressive, and the bears go back into hibernation mode.
What about what happens in production in China if this coronavirus continues to swell, continues to get worse? Is that going to have a really big material impact for Apple in production? Yeah,
it's a great question. I think they address it on the call a bit, but I think right now it's pretty contained. If you look at Foxconn as well as just the overall manufacturing, obviously it's going to have some impact on the manufacturing piece. But right now I quantify that to about maybe 3%. Is sort of revenues in terms of that could move around from quarter to quarter. But from a production standpoint, at this point, I think barks worse than bite. It needs to be something that ultimately is focused on. But I think if you look at that guidance and you look at how they handled the call, that was a masterpiece last night in terms of how Cook, just given some of the worries about coronavirus in China.
So I know you're bullish. What's your price target? Remind us as we let you go.
400, but now you start to look at potentially a bull case. I think $2 trillion by the end of 2021 is where we see the stock. And you look at those numbers, haters are going to hate. But ultimately, those numbers validated the bull thesis.